So I'm writing this out and reading it to you. I don't want to get lost on too many tangents. This happened towards the end of my time as state ward, so there's a lot of threads, an intricate webbing, if you will, that actually lead us up to this point. Also, I want to make sure I get certain ideas in, maybe get your mind off on a tangent. Ideas to do with magic, like what do you believe about magic? Is it just the inexplicable? Fate or determinism? That topic's seemingly always running in the back of my mind. Also, violence and power. In the video I titled Rivers of Styx, I incorrectly relate my idea about how we row through time. I had too much river in my analogy with the water. See, similar to water, 3 states of water, I see 3 states of time. The future is gaseous, a cloud of possibilities that's all shapes and no shape. The present's liquid, an instant of a sort of collapsed gas. And the past is ice, frozen and unchanging. You add perception into the mix and the gas seems unpredictable, the liquid malleable. Depending on how you look at it, you see different ways, like looking through a glass of water might elongate an image or something like that. And the past has that distortion property as well, but ice sculpting isn't really allowed. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that a little in this video for some reason. Maybe just keep it in mind, because this is an odd story and you might come back to it in some way. Right now, though, we're going back more than 25 years. I was in foster care at the time. I'd be free soon, having made a deal to get emancipated when I graduated high school. Doubled and tripled up on credits, and I was on course to graduate at 17. I was still 16 now, though. I was living under the care of a woman named Jackie, who I have nothing but love for. She was an older woman from Louisiana, had a hell of a life herself, and now she was a last chance home for unwanted teens. She had 2 kids of her own living in the other half of the duplex, the son Max. Might talk about him in another story. Jackie's daughter Deidre, she was in her late 30s. She worked a lot. She had a daughter named Tanya, Jackie's granddaughter. We were secretly seeing each other at the time. So far as other kids in her custody, for the sake of time, I'll just say the kids came and left. You follow the rules, you go home, you break the rules, and there goes your last chance. You're off to the juvie pen, whatever. This particular story has to do with myself. Haven't been there some months by then. Jason, he'd been there almost as long as Brandy, our foster sister, who'd been living with Jackie for some years. And Sean, he was the newest at Jackie's, but I'd met him at another place I was in. He was an okay guy. He was more like my situation in that Brandy and Jason were state ward because of bad parents. Sean and I were state ward because we were the bad ones. But we were all the family we had, so we all got along no matter the differences. Now as we row gently down the stream, Carnival came to town. Then on this night, Jason, Sean, and I were going out, just 3 of us. It wasn't our first time. The house was like 2 miles from where the carnival's set up, so we'd gone a few times already. Done all the rides, played all the games. We were going this time mostly to see if we'd get Sean with a girl. See, Jason, he was a 6-foot, clean-cut, Aryan-looking kid. He wasn't racist, I'm just talking about his looks. He was a quiet guy. I'm quiet, but Jason made me jealous with how quiet he could be. I consider my silence like a strength. Anyway, he had no trouble with females, neither did I. Sean, on the other hand, was in a different situation. He was very short-tempered, I'd say. He had a slight Napoleon complex, not the worst I'd seen, but it showed itself often enough. It didn't help that he was like 5'6", bad hygiene, acne. That's what Jason and I were for. We'd look for 3 girls, and let them decide who gets the short straw, so to speak. It wasn't planned in those words. So we get there looking around, got some tickets in case we get on a ride or something. Not having any luck, it's getting late. Not that we were striking out, just not seeing 3 single girls. We were about to give up, then there they were. 3 angels. or interested in a particular ride. They noticed us, which was good. Except now I had to be the one to go talk to them. So I go up, introduce myself and Jason and Sean, wondering if they'd go on this ride with us. You know, they were giggly and sweet, but they'd come with their boyfriends who were on another ride without them because one of the girls didn't want to go on and the other two girls didn't want to leave her behind. It was the ride where the two boats swing around and they go all upside down even. I didn't tell them that was my favorite ride. I told them that we liked this ride, and it was rude that their boyfriends went on without them. I said we wanted to go on this, but we didn't have girls with us, and thought it might look gay. Kind of joking, kind of jabbing at their boyfriends at the same time. Homophobia was more accepted back then, so don't cancel me over this. You know, I kept reiterating, just one ride, nothing else. We'll be perfect gentlemen, all this. I started thinking it might not happen, but they shared a look, then a couple nods and a shrug later, we all six got in line. It was up to Sean now, if he was going to get a number or what. And in line, I remember I was glad he wasn't saying anything stupid, but then he wasn't saying much at all, and that wasn't going to work either. And Jason, like I mentioned, wasn't the talkative type either. So I was the one asking questions, trying to get to know the girls. They're from the north side, way up north, Ritchie neighborhood. I used to live on the north side, but in the poor part of town. We'd have gone to the same high school if I lived there, so I knew people from junior high who went on to their high school. We could relate a little bit, and they relaxed, and things were going pretty well. They were on the volleyball team or softball team or something, I don't quite remember. It was their first night at the carnival. And the ride was this flying saucer. You sit in a circle and has a wheel in the middle so you could spin it. And each saucer was on an arm, and the ride would go up and down and around. So we get in, boy, girl, and the ride starts up. So at this point, I guess I learned something new about Jason. Although females were attracted to him, he wasn't so good at picking up on certain cues. Him and Sean get into some kind of macho match over how fast they can spin the saucer, and they don't notice the girls are getting nervous. Now, practically the whole time in line, I'd been trying to think of, like, jokes to do with space or the moon or Venus or something. Because even though I was seeing Tanya and I was in love with her at the time, I was still flirting with these girls. They were pretty girls. Now, Jason and Sean's shenanigans then just kind of got the joke to solidify in my head, so I grabbed the wheel. I'm like, don't make me pull this ship over and drop you both off on Uranus. Got everybody to laugh. Even Jason laughed, and he hardly ever laughed. He even joked and shot back. He says, he started it, pointing at Sean. That made everybody laugh even harder. It was a good time. Everybody calmed down. We were all laughing, having a good time, spinning around. So merrily, 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 gently down the stream we go. But then the mist begins to clear, and you can see there are rapids ahead. I think my viewer Phoenix, she's a fan of the action, so it's part of sort of for her. Because of course the boyfriends were waiting when we get off the ride. Football team by the looks of them. They were trying to look tough, but there's no way they could have known what we were, especially me and Sean. We saw normal kids as civilians. They had safe lives, comparatively speaking. Now, maybe we hadn't been through literal war, but you're not going to convince me that PTSD isn't prevalent in the world we lived in. I'm not saying we were better, but we were accustomed to conflict. Our fight, flight, and freeze reactions had been tested, and I think that gives you kind of an edge, because you can navigate through first moments more adeptly. Anyway, back to the rough waters ahead. I think I've got some college-educated viewers, so you may know of a woman named Hannah Arendt. Written things like Banality of Evil and such. I've never had one lesson in college myself, but I have been pleased to finally be learning about her. One of the things she talks about is how violence is not power. It's sort of the opposite, really. It can destroy power, but violence is actually a sign that you're losing power, politically especially. I'm just carrying it over into this situation because it came to me as I'm reflecting on this. Now the girls immediately went to the guys and diffused the situation. They're like, there's nothing, we were cool. And they all started walking away, so awesome. Good night. But Sean wasn't finished. Now it's during intense situations when you learn which dog you've been feeding more, the good dog or the bad dog. Kids in our situation had strong bad dogs. They were well fed. And the bad dog in me was salivating. And Sean started popping off at him as they walked away. He said a lot of stuff pretty quick. They could have kept ignoring him. But I think it was when he called them fags. The big one stopped, turned around to come back, which was a mistake. I could have stopped Sean, could have told him to shut up, and he would have. The good dog inside me asked me to do as much. But the big bad dog didn't want Sean to stop. So they hadn't walked far before the big guy changed his mind, and I was expecting they might just turn around and charge us like football players. But they opted for the calm, try to look tough approach that might be effective on kids they'd bully in their school. But out here with us, well, I believe they could tell it wasn't working.